These squishy plastic shoes were
What
cheap,
is that?
stylish, and comfortable.
Oh my days, they look like Crocs. They look like Crocs. Shoulder pads, like you had shoulder pads like American footballers. Wow. Girls wanted to have some big shoulders back in the day. I see.
And grab an ice-cold Orange Julius.
Never heard of that in my life. Orange Julius. That poster, it was three girls looking up at someone's between. Is this a man standing and he's just looking at his? Where are they looking? If you grew up in the 1980s, you will remember this. This is part 2, guys. I've seen part 1. Your fellow Gen Z, Brave Curious Man, back again with another one of these throwback to the past, these compilations. This is again from Recollection Road. And as always, they always come through with that dose of nostalgia, man. And it's always interesting for me to see what new things I discover being a Gen Zer myself. Guys, on my page, I just released 2 new movie reactions. One to The Breakfast Club and another one to Dazed and Confused. If any of you guys are interested in getting like a Gen Z perspective on some of these, then definitely consider checking out the link in the description to the Patreon. I also got all my album reviews that you guys can check out on there as well, to people like Led Zeppelin and Prince. And I plan on doing so much more. I'm also doing sitcom reviews as well. We're currently watching season 1, episode 9 of Married with Children. So if any of you guys want to check that out, you know where to go. That's where you guys are going to get all that exclusive bonus content I cannot post on YouTube, and it will be a great way to support the channel if you guys love my content. And speaking of which, look, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. 90% of you guys that watch me are not subscribed, guys. So let's fix that. Let's get that number down to at least 80%, man. And it should be down to 2%. Yeah, but we need to flip that, guys. But yeah, look, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But yeah, guys, with that being said, let's get straight into this video. Let's go. That intro music every time, man.
The 1980s was a popular culture explosion.
Look at those
and throughout the
straws.
decade, there was so much going on, I couldn't fit it all into one video.
Right.
So I decided to put together another collection of things you might remember from the 80s. This time, I used the comments from the last video to create the list.
Okay.
So if
That's
you grew up in
interesting.
the 1980s, you will remember many of these things.
By the way, guys, look, part 1, I'll link my reaction to that in the description below, if I can remember, hopefully.
So if you grew up in the 1980s, you will remember many of these things. Once again, provided by you, the viewers.
Okay.
To start out, new singers emerged and took the malls by storm in the mid-80s.
Okay.
The 2 most well-known were Debbie Gibson and Tiffany.
Don't know who they
These
are.
2 actually performed in malls and became 2 of the hottest stars on the planet during the 1980s.
They performed in malls, okay.
Following the success of these 2, the Boston boy band New Kids on the Block
Oh,
shot
well, I'm just deep in it, because wait, so was singers back in the day, they didn't really have the internet like that, so I guess, yeah, you would probably have to perform in malls, because a lot of you guys are going to malls back in the day, because that's where you would go outside to do shopping, because you didn't have online shopping back then. So this probably would have been a great place to just market yourself, in the mall. Now you could just go online and just do it, but that's interesting.
Following the success of these 2,
That's interesting.
the Boston boy band New Kids on the Block shot to fame, and every teenage girl had their favorite New Kid member.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen Boston boy band. That's alliteration. Don't know about them.
Keeping with music, the 80s are remembered for the hair bands of the day. Not only was spandex their favorite thing to wear, but bands like Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, and Poison weren't afraid of a little mascara either.
Okay, again, I don't recognize
For
a
the
single.
kids that detested mainstream pop music, there was new music from Run DMC and the Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys, okay.
Heavy metal was also hitting its stride in the 80s, and no other band was as commercially successful as Metallica.
Okay, Metallica in the 80s. Look, again, all of these people that he's just mentioned, every single one I have, besides the Beastie Boys, I've heard one song from the Beastie Boys from reaction I did when I was in America. And that's not even on this channel. That's on my channel, my sister, Siblings React. If you guys don't know about that, check it out if you haven't already. But yeah, we checked out What You Want from the Beastie Boys. That's the only song I've heard. Aside from that, I have not heard a single song from any single one of these individuals that were just mentioned. Put that into perspective.
Heavy metal was also
At least I
hitting
don't
its
think I
stride
have.
in the 80s, and no other band was as commercially successful as Metallica.
But this seems like it was booming in the 80s, man.
News stories of the day included the ever-evolving AIDS epidemic, and
Aye.
especially the story of middle schooler Ryan White.
Oh, Ryan White.
In 1986, the
wonder what that
Space
was
Shuttle
about.
Challenger exploded on live TV after the whole country watched the first teacher climb aboard.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All of this was happening as Cold War tensions with the Soviet Union were coming to a close. During the early 1980s, many kids had an Atari 2600. Do you remember playing games with the worn-out joystick that was missing its plastic cover?
Okay.
Anyways, games like Space Invaders and Joust became popular arcade-style games that were brought into the living rooms of millions of Americans.
Look, let me know if any of you guys play that, man, because again, like this Atari thing, it still looks like, you know, my radiator that I have today. If I looked at that, I wouldn't have thought that was a game. I would have thought that was like a radio. And these like console, like they're supposed to be controller, like again, that's just a whole different planet to what I'm used to. And let me know if you guys experienced that and if you played any of these games. Space Invaders, I've heard of it, never played.
Arcade-style games that were brought into the living rooms of millions of Americans.
Wow.
Television viewing for younger kids might have included watching The Bozo Show in the morning before going to school.
The Bozo Show.
Who didn't love watching the Grand Prize Game? Another show kids would watch prior to going to school was Mr. Wizard's World on Nickelodeon. The show made learning about science fun and engaging. After school, Reading Rainbow was another educational show that aired on PBS. The show made reading an adventure, and by opening a book, you could find the answer to anything.
Not a single thing.
Family Sitcoms.
Obviously, this is if you grew up in the 80s, you remember this. I didn't grow up in the 80s, so I'm not going to remember a single thing so far, and it's apparent. I wonder how true this is for you guys, though. Maybe it isn't, maybe it is.
Family sitcoms were a huge part of 1980s programming. These shows focused more on the kids, and most of them became huge stars while their shows were on the air. Okay. Shows like Family Ties with Michael J. Fox, Growing Pains with Kirk Cameron, and Who's the Boss with Alyssa Milano made for plenty of celebrity crushes by kids across the country.
Okay. I can check those out if you want me to, guys.
For grown-ups, new shows like Miami Vice and Moonlighting put a new spin on traditional crime shows.
Nice. Looks interesting.
If you were a kid growing up in the 1980s, movies were everything. E.T. made you believe, War Games made you wonder, and Revenge of the Nerds gave you hope. Not only could you watch these movies at the theater, but VCRs were becoming more popular in homes.
I can imagine.
And you could own the movie yourself. If you didn't have a VCR, you could also rent one from your local video store.
Yeah, man. That is so jokes, man. Like, I can just imagine what that's like.
From your local video store. One of the best parts of the 1980s were all of the low-budget horror movies that became standard viewing at slumber parties.
What's a slumber party? Like, I keep hearing that word being thrown around. Is that like a sleepover thing? I don't even know how to spell it. Slumber party. So a slumber party is a party for teenagers, typically girls, in which all the guests stay the night at the house where the party is held. Okay, so it's a sleepover for girls. Why is that? Maybe that's an American thing, like that is called slumber party, because I keep hearing that name and I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, what is it? What's a slumber party? But I mean, it makes sense now. It makes sense. Wow.
From Friday the 13th to A Nightmare.
Wait, what was that poster? So it was three girls looking up at someone's between. Is this a man standing and he's just looking at his? Where are they looking? This picture looks wild. I don't even know the context. I don't even know what this is from, what this is about. But if you guys can help fill this in, this looks wild.
They're viewing at slumber parties.
What are they looking at?
From Friday the 13th to A Nightmare on Elm Street. The sequels that these movies produced could fill an entire night. And if you love staying up late, there is no doubt you watched the Mistress of Dark herself, Elvira, host her late night movie marathon.
Mad. Again, I might need to check some of these out, man.
Who doesn't remember hanging out at the mall just about every weekend in the 1980s? Whether you were shopping for a new pair of Z Cavariccis or hanging out at the arcade, everyone loved to stop at the food court and grab an ice-cold Orange Julius.
Never heard of that in my life. Orange Julius.
Speaking of shopping, the 1980s had everyone repeating slogans from popular ad campaigns, including, "Excuse me, are those Bugle Boy jeans you're wearing?" Fast food restaurant Wendy's also got in on the question game with "Where's the beef?"
Yeah, I've seen some Burger King like I still don't understand what ad. Where's the beef? Like, what does that mean? Is it like where's the drama? Where's the fight? Where's the beef? Please, someone help fill me in on that, man. I'm still trying to figure that out to this day. But wow,
the question game with "Where's the beef?"
Yeah,
Do you
man.
remember Fred the Baker, better known as the Time to Make the Donuts guy? This campaign made Dunkin' Donuts a household name.
Fred the Baker.
Domino's Pizza also had a character of their own to promote their pizza delivery in under 30 minutes.
What is that
Avoiding
thing?
the Noid was key to getting your pizza in the 1980s.
Avoiding the Noid.
During the 1980s, it wasn't unusual for you to spend a Friday night at the local skating rink. You may have even splurged on a pair of wide-wheeled speed skates to help you dominate the limbo.
Ooh. Skating rinks back in the day hit different.
Swatch watches were wildly popular during this decade.
Oh, God.
The loud and colorful watch was on everyone's wish list,
Not the Swatch
and they
watch.
represented the aesthetic of the 1980s to a T.
That Swatch, yeah. Do you know what?
If you-
He's actually got a point. From what I've seen for the 1980s, the Swatch watch actually does represent that time period because those funky designs and the colors, like I've seen the same thing with some of the fashion fads, man, are just interesting.
Loud and colorful
So
watch
much
was on
different to
everyone's
today.
wish list, and they represented the aesthetic of the 1980s
It
to a
makes
T.
sense. Actually, yeah, I hear that. Look at those clothes, man.
If you were a girl that loved your Aquanet hairspray, you probably also owned a few jackets that had wide shoulder pads. The broad shoulder look was in, and so were jellies. These squishy plastic shoes were
What
cheap,
is that?
stylish, and comfortable.
Oh my days, they look like Crocs. They look like Crocs. Or like some of these like Yeezy sliders that I've seen, Rev. Like, whoa. These the Crocs before Crocs, man. Like, these, what are they? No way people were wearing these back in. How am I only just seeing this now? All the videos that I've done. And shoulder pads, like you had shoulder pads like American footballers. Wow. Girls wanted to have some big shoulders back in the day. I see you girls. I don't know why. I don't know. Someone please explain that one to me. That was interesting how that one came about. But you know, I want to see my mum in a shoulder pad now.
The broad shoulder look was in,
shoulder.
and so were jellies. These squishy plastic shoes were cheap, stylish, and comfortable.
Jellies, man. I need to get me some of those.
Game nights during the 1980s were ruled by a new tabletop game called Trivial Pursuit. The trivia
of that.
game had you earning colorful pie pieces, and once they were all collected, you won.
Pictionary, okay.
For those who weren't versed in all things trivia, Pictionary and Jenga also were popular party game choices.
Jenga. Do you know, just imagining people coming together to play games on board games. I low-key would like to experience that because I've never experienced that. But you just wouldn't see it like that today. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe some of you guys still do this to this day. I don't know. I'll be curious, but that is interesting.
Some of the most influential toys of the decade were created out of television cartoons. Transformers was a fun concept, and it made for fun toys as well. Every kid loved transforming Optimus Prime into a semi-truck. The fast-talking commercials for Micro Machines also made these popular choices for kids. And then there was Teddy Ruxpin, the friendly book-reading bear.
Ruxpin.
This animatronic bear had a spot in his back for cassette tapes that would bring him to life.
Okay. Listen.
If you enjoyed this video,
Alright guys, look, that seems to be the end of that video, man. Shout out to Recollection Road. Yeah, man. I mean, that's the whole point of the video. If you grew up in the 90s, you remember this. I didn't grow up in the 90s. I grew up in the 2000s, and I don't remember a single thing. There was not, I think, bar from Transformers, there was not a single thing that I would have known about. Every single one of these things, that even the artists that were mentioned, I just don't know. I don't know, whatever it is. Look, you guys let me know how true a lot of these were. Can you guys relate? Does this bring back any memories? Yeah, like maybe some of the questions you might be able to answer for me down in the comments below. I'm always curious to kind of just see a little bit more the context of this. Like, what's the beef in those Burger King adverts? Like, I still don't understand that to this day. And yeah, man, like, again, this is like watching another language, another world, like, because all of these things I just didn't know about. I didn't know what it was, and it just looked interesting. So I hope you guys enjoyed that reaction. Look, if you made it to this point, comment down a green heart so I know who my rules are. He didn't just click off the video as soon as the video ended. I appreciate all of you guys that watch these videos all the way through. You guys are the real ones. Of course, again, don't forget to like the videos before you guys head on out. Always like the video if you guys want to support the channel. It goes a long way in pushing these videos and algorithm. It always does me a big favor. And of course, if you want to get more videos like this, again, link to the playlist will be linked at one of the end cards. We can check out all of these kinds of videos and more. And of course, guys, look, with that being said, as always, I've been your boy JayFlex. This has been me checking out. If you grew up in the 1980s, you remember this from Recollection Road. And for those guys who made it to this point, you guys have been absolutely wonderful. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.